Welcome to Celeb Snare, the place where we pull back the velvet rope and expose the truth Hollywood fights to keep buried. Tonight, we're witnessing the spectacular detonation of a Hollywood fairy tale. We all know the brand, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, the witty, gorgeous, seemingly perfect power couple. They built an empire on charm, but what if that charm was a mask? And what if, behind that mask, lies a story so venomous, so calculated, it will change how you see them forever? For months, we were fed a carefully crafted narrative about the movie It Ends With Us. Blake Lively, the brave star, was a victim. Justin Baldoni, her co-star and director, was the problem. The bombshell court documents, unsealed in the dead of night, have just ripped that story to shreds. What they reveal isn't a simple on-set dispute. It's a blueprint for a hostile takeover. A story of greed, manipulation, and a ruthless conspiracy to seize power and annihilate a colleague's career. Forget everything you think you know. The mask has slipped. This is the real story of the It Ends With Us war. It all began with a single, devastatingly effective weapon. A so-called safety letter. In late 2023, citing vague claims of misconduct, Blake Lively forced Justin Baldoni to sign it. On the surface, it looked like a standard workplace protection document, but in reality, it was a Trojan horse. This letter wasn't a shield for her. It was a dagger for him. It handed her the keys to the entire production. Instantly, the power dynamic on set was inverted. This wasn't just script approval. It was absolute veto power. It wasn't just a voice in the editing room. It was the final cut. The documents suggest she now held the power to dictate every creative beat, from casting to marketing. Justin Baldoni, the man who shepherded this project for years, was effectively a prisoner on his own set. He confessed to friends in text messages that he was being held hostage, that every move he made, every word he uttered was being scrutinized, waiting to be twisted and used against him in the court of public opinion. The atmosphere became so toxic that the conflict boiled over. Sources inside the production described a chilling confrontation where Ryan Reynolds, no longer just a supportive husband, allegedly stormed a meeting and screamed at Justin. The message was clear. This was their movie now. This was no longer a collaboration. It was a coup. With their power consolidated behind the scenes, it was time to win the public war, and that's when they unleashed the smear campaign. According to the unsealed documents, Blake and Ryan's strategy was a masterclass in media manipulation. It was swift, brutal, and fought on the pages of the world's biggest gossip sites. Think back to August 2024. Suddenly, TMZ, the executioner of Hollywood reputations, had an explosive story about HR complaints filed against Justin. The timing was surgically precise, landing just days after Justin's team refused to release a statement Blake's camp had drafted for them. A statement that would have made him take the fall for production rumors. The documents traced the source of those leaks directly back to Blake's camp. And the complaints themselves? They were paper thin. The headline grabber was a so-called sexy comment Justin allegedly made during a hot tub scene. But even in their own filings, Blake's team admitted the interaction was merely awkward. But in the post-Me Too era, context doesn't matter. The accusation is the weapon. They didn't need it to be true, they just needed it to be public. The mud stuck, and Justin's reputation was instantly stained. While Blake played the victim, Ryan stepped into his role, the hero. He allegedly began planting stories in outlets like the Daily Mail, crafting a narrative that he had to swoop in to save the film from a disaster of a script. Let's pause on that for a moment. Ryan Reynolds, a man, was publicly claiming to rescue a script written by a woman, based on a global phenomenon of a book written by a woman. The arrogance was breathtaking. Legal experts cited in the documents even suggest this was a flagrant violation of the Hollywood writers' strike rules, a move that painted him as someone who believed the rules simply didn't apply to a star of his magnitude. Behind closed doors, Justin's PR team was watching this unfold. One strategist astutely wrote in an email, "Ryan looks the worst. This arrogance plays good for us, bad for them." They saw the hubris, but the damage was already done. The smear machine was running at full speed, and the public only saw the headlines. Justin, the villain, Ryan, the savior. This public relations assault was the perfect cover for the real objective, a complete, unchallenged takeover of the film. With the safety letter as her legal leverage, Blake secured a PGA producer credit. For anyone outside the industry, that might sound like just another title. It's not. A PGA credit is the holy grail. It's the key to back-end profits, a share of every ticket sold, and ultimate creative control. It's the difference between being an employee and being the boss. With this power, Blake and Ryan allegedly began to systematically dismantle Justin's authority. Insiders described it as chaos by design. Constant last-minute script changes were demanded, throwing the entire production schedule into disarray. Justin's creative choices were openly questioned in front of the cast and crew. It was a war of attrition, designed to frustrate and exhaust him until he had no choice but to step aside. And every time questions were raised, another timely leak about Justin's problematic behavior would hit the press. It was the perfect feedback loop. Their actions created chaos, and the chaos was then used as justification for their actions. But fighting a war against two of Hollywood's biggest names has a cost, and that cost was astronomical. The unsealed documents confirm what had only been whispered before. Justin Baldoni and his studio, Wayfarer, were forced to spend a staggering $9 million. Let's be clear, this was not a marketing budget. This was a war chest. This money went to hiring an army of crisis PR experts, top-tier lawyers, and digital forensic teams to try and counter the endless barrage of negative press. It was a financial siege designed to bleed him dry. Imagine the sheer pressure, trying to direct a massive film while simultaneously fighting a multi-million-dollar battle to save your career, your reputation, and your company from being systematically destroyed. And here is the most diabolical twist in this entire saga. While Justin was being crucified in the press for the film's controversial marketing, which many fans felt was tone-deaf and romanticized domestic violence, the documents prove he had nothing to do with it. Internal emails and notes confirm that the entire marketing campaign, from the floral-drenched posters to the rom-com-style trailers, was conceived and controlled by Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds themselves. Yet because of his contractual obligations, Justin's official social media channels were forced to post and promote the very marketing being used as a weapon against him. It was the ultimate power play. They were forcing him to publicly endorse his own character assassination. But Blake and Ryan made one fatal miscalculation. They assumed they could control everything. They could control the set, control the media, control the narrative, but they couldn't control the audience. The backlash started not in the pages of Variety, but on TikTok. It was organic, authentic, and brutal. Fans of the book were the first to cry foul, creating viral videos that showed side by side how the movie's vibrant, sunny trailers completely betrayed the novel's dark and harrowing themes. Survivors of domestic abuse spoke out, calling the marketing harmful and offensive. Then the algorithm took over. Digital sleuths began creating video essays, combing through old interviews and finding a pattern of Blake seeming awkward or dismissive when asked serious questions. Her carefully crafted image began to fray at the edges. The conversation online shifted dramatically. The public wasn't buying the story anymore. For the first time, the power couple was on the defensive, and they had no idea how to stop it. It wasn't a rival PR team they could fight. It was the unfiltered voice of the public. And that's when the final bomb dropped. The court unsealed the documents. Hundreds of pages of emails, texts, internal memos. The entire playbook was laid bare for the world to see. The fiction they had spent millions to build didn't just crack. It was obliterated. Exhibit A, Justin Baldoni's texts from January 2024. Long before the public smear campaign began, he was sending panicked messages to friends, warning them that Blake was using the claim letter for a power grab. This was the smoking gun. It proved his story wasn't retaliation. It was a real-time account of his own takedown. Exhibit B, the trail of leaks. The documents allegedly contained communication logs that pointed directly from Blake and Ryan's camp to specific journalists, timed to inflict maximum damage. Exhibit C, the marketing control. Internal emails that showed in black and white that the controversial marketing direction came directly from Blake's team, completely exonerating Justin. The unsealed truth exposed their narrative as a manufactured fiction, a cynical ploy to justify a corporate power grab.
And the ultimate question, why? The power and legacy. It Ends With Us was never just another movie. It was in it. They wanted to own it. By wresting control from Justin, they secured producer credits, which meant a cut of every dollar the franchise would ever make. They could shape the film and its path of the document's release. The public reaction was merciless. The hero couple was recast as manipulative villains. Ryan Reynolds, normally bulletproof, faced rare and intense criticism for his arrogance and financial gain. That is a stain that doesn't wash out. This silly narratives can be manipulated and reputations destroyed when fame and wealth are on the line. Justin Baldoni may have spent $9 million, but Blake and Ryan lost something far more valuable: their credibility. And once that's gone, it's gone for good.